happy Friday, and welcome to Let's Talk. I'm your host today and Washington Informer content editor Jada Ingleton, filling in for our publisher Denise Rolark Barnes, who's actually in Africa for a few weeks. So there should be some exciting content around that in the coming months. But as for today, we have a great show planned for you. First, I would love to be the first one to tell those who don't know, it is the first day of spring. I'm personally very excited about that. I think it's been a wicked winter. So great news all around. We actually should be expecting some great weather this Sunday. But more importantly, kicking off the sunshine and key news for today are our guests. So we'll have joining us shortly Nolan Carr, Marketing and Community Relations Manager at WellpointDC. And we'll be talking about the very first ever Spring into Health Community Farmers Market. It's taking place in partnership with Anacostia High School and the University of the District of Columbia. So today's conversation will highlight food insecurity in the district, food as medicine, which I personally think is a key topic that doesn't get talked about enough, and why this initiative got started in the first place. And then next joining us will be Juwan Blocker, a thought leader and inspirational producer here to talk about the Meetup podcast he's launching this spring. So for those of you missing Denise's face by the end of the conversation or looking forward to another great one, we'll also end with our publisher, Denise Rolark Barnes, in conversation with the Honorable Sharon Pratt, who was the former mayor of the District of Columbia. So all around great things coming up for the spring season for today's episode. But in case you missed any of the great news in this week's paper, it is my duty to remind you to tap into our news of this week. As you see a copy right there, you can get a print copy at a local newsstand, or you can find it online at thewashingtoninformer.com. Some highlights that you might have missed: we've got a Target boycott update, coverage of the Prince George's County Spelling Bee, where we actually have a returning first time for Prince George's, but returning to the National Strip stage. So a very cool story there. And as also a tribute to Apollo's Kiki Shepard and so much more. So I have to remind you to pick up your copy, but I hope that you use this conversation to tap into the news and stay active on these updates going on all around the week. So beyond that, and before we get into our show, please be sure to share this broadcast on your social media platforms and follow us on ours. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X/Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, and of course, if you want to catch all Let's Talk episodes, lives, past, present, and those coming up, our YouTube channel, Washington Informer TV, is key. So please make sure you join us on that as well. Now, kicking us off, enough about me. Let us have Nolan Carr, Marketing and Community Relations Manager at WellpointDC.
Hey, good afternoon, Jada. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you, Nolan. I know you're a Let's Talk veteran, I hear.
I have been on before, Miss Denise, but happy to have you on today and have the opportunity to meet you. So I guess that makes me somewhat of a veteran, but it's exciting every time.
Absolutely. Well, we can jump right into our discussion. And for our viewers who don't know, WellpointDC is the managed care organization providing health insurance to Washingtonians in the District of Columbia. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this event? Is it taking place tomorrow?
Yeah, it's taking place tomorrow. As you mentioned, it is the first day of spring. And so with the weather changing, we thought it would be appropriate to have a Spring into Health Community Farmers Market. It's going to be over at Anacostia High School, Southeast DC, and they have a great partnership with the University of District of Columbia. They have a greenhouse over there where the students and staff there are growing a lot of the produce that will be given away at this event tomorrow. So we're hoping that the community comes out. It's going to be an amazing event with amazing partners. If you guys are familiar with the Marion Berry Ave Market by Dreaming Out Loud, they'll be with us giving out some produce, as well as some other local farmers, throughout the district and surrounding area. And so we're super excited about it. Want folks to come out, have a good time. We'll have some cooking demonstrations out there as well from Food Jonesy. And Food Jonesy does a great job. They are a team of chefs and dietitians and nutritionists. And so they don't cook with salt, but there's so many other flavors and seasonings that you can use. And the same thing for some of the drinks, instead of using the refined sugars that may not be as helpful to you, they use honey and things like that. So we want folks to kind of come out, get the free produce and the things that we'll have. There'll be tours of the UDC greenhouse over at Anacostia High School. So we're super excited about that. And it's going to be 11 to 1 tomorrow. It looks like we're going to get some great weather. I think you called it. What was that winter that you named it, Jada? It was what kind of winter?
It was a wicked winter.
A wicked. So I'm trying to forget it, as you can see clearly. So I'm looking forward to this smooth spring, and why not kick it off today, this Friday, and tomorrow at the community farmers market at 11 o'clock.
You know what? We're going to coin that a smooth spring, and
All right.
hopefully one of those that once the sun comes out, stays out.
Yes.
You know, I'm interested to know, Nolan, you know, beyond the fact that these two schools are already partnered in their own way, why was it important for you guys to start with UDC and Anacostia High School?
Well, it was helpful to us because we're all about health outcomes and promoting health. And so, what you eat is so important to your health, not just your physical health, but your mental health as well. You hear folks talk about, food is medicine. That is a principle that we believe in as well. And so, if we're going to be promoting health as a health insurance company, why not do that in a fun and engaging way with some leaders that are already doing great things in the community around having produce available, teaching how to do, produce and make your own gardens. And so they'll have some seedling stations where folks can, make a plant or get some seeds to create a plant later if they don't want to, get their hands dirty tomorrow. And they'll be able to get educated on, how easy it can be to start a garden with even just a windowsill and some light. If you got some light and some dirt and some water and you come get these seeds tomorrow, you can go ahead and get started. And so we're excited about that. It's important for us to engage the community and talk about food as medicine and the effects that food can, have on your overall health, and do that in a fun way.
And what it seems like that I like is with, folks that are going to come out there tomorrow, you're getting a first time demonstration, maybe for some, but things that you can take back at home and repeat in your own house and pass along to your neighbors and families, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot of great models there. You think about that, each one teach one, like you said. So you get the information, come out tomorrow and pass it on to somebody else. And there's the educational component where you come and you get the information, but they do a really good job about empowering. Like, hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. This is what we're able to do. But then empowering you to do something, on your own scale yourself. And so we're really excited about that. And I'm happy you kind of picked up on that, because that is a theme throughout the event. And I think it's going to be really nice. And as you mentioned, this is our first one, 2026, this start of spring, smooth spring. Excuse me, we just trademarked that, Jada. But, after we get through this smooth spring, we got to figure out something for the summer. And so we want it to be something that's ongoing for the community. And we're continuing to do with the great partners like Dreaming Out Loud, UDC, the Seedling Group. It's going to be so many great organizations out with us. And so we're really excited about that.
Excellent. And when we're talking about that, a statistic I recently learned, 37.5% of households in the district experience food insecurity. So how does urban farming or practices such as these kind of start to address these issues, particularly here in DC?
Yeah, so those statistics are a little alarming to me, and when I look at it, I'm like, wow, so getting in this work and working with folks who have expertise here, when they share those type of numbers, it's like, what can be done? What can we do to address this? And so you may not be able to create a grocery store, or supply, healthy food to your whole neighborhood, but you can, start to grow and have your own, home gardens where you can have some produce and some herbs and things like that will help with your health, and you can do right in your house and you can access it. And so you're not waiting for something maybe to be created or to come. It's the ability to do some things yourself. And so that's awesome. It's a way to chip away at those percentages, that data that you kind of spoke to, but then also just build on that awareness in the conversation and continue to grow to fix those numbers collectively together as a community.
And what I like is, we also have that layer of course, the teach one, do one, show one, and then, but also their students, you're having student level engagement, students who are going to continue these traditions and practices in their own way. So can you tell me a little bit about that involvement of collaborating with the students at Anacostia High School and UDC?
Yeah, the students are really the expert here. They're doing a great job in working with the leadership between Anacostia and UDC over there. And the students are getting hands-on learning on the planning, the monitoring, the growth, understanding the hydroponic systems where they're growing this produce. And so that's one thing, and to be able to teach those things. And so the students are involved in that way. They're going to be showing up in numbers tomorrow, volunteering as well for different components of the event, working with those cooking demonstrations with Food Jonesy. But in addition to just kind of learning and understanding that, I think it's important to note that they're building some real skills, around career pathways. And so we're excited about that, to kind of support that. The organization I'm with, WellpointDC, to see the youth learning about that and how that's tied to health and food, but also how that can, move forward in career opportunities and workforce development as well. So, major shout out to the students over at Anacostia and UDC, the students there and the work that they're doing. A lot of great work, a lot of great people. Xavier Brown, one of the thought leaders of this event with UDC, as well as Kelly Baggett, who's working with those students daily, and they'll all be out tomorrow giving those tours, and you can kind of see what the students are doing and what they've been able to produce and talk to them. So just come on out tomorrow. 11 a.m. For the Smooth Spring Into Health Community Health Fair. And we're going to be happy to have you guys and come get some produce and get some cooking demonstrations for Food Jonesy, listen to some music. We'll have some activities as well. It's going to be a really good time.
I love it. We got to get Smooth Spring on a shirt or something.
Man, we'll figure it out. With the merch, everybody got the merch these days. So one way or another, let's see what we can do. So Jada, after the show, I think you guys have some great interviews coming up. I'll be sticking around, Ms. Sharon Pratt, the former mayor, to listen into that. But once you guys get done with today's show, let's see how maybe we can work together on some Smooth Spring merch.
Yes, positive marketing indeed. And before I let you go, Nolan, I want to ask if you had, let's say, you wanted to explain to somebody who has a little bit of skepticism when we're talking about food as medicine, what would you say is the importance of integrating that mentality or that practice in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think for one, it's personal for me, as many of us in the community, I don't, but family members have chronic health conditions, whether that be, things like diabetes and high blood pressure, and, they're dealing with those, and we want to be able to support them. And one way we can do that is by educating and talking about food and how that helps with those conditions, right? And even reverse those conditions in some situations. And so we want folks to be healthy. It's very important. I'm proud to be a part of WellpointDC and the work that they're doing, but a part of the community as well, and just continue to push that. And it's one thing to hear from me, Jada, but if you come out and listen and learn and tour this greenhouse with all these experts and these students, as well as the staff who have so much expertise in it, they'll be able to tell you that much more.
Excellent. Well, we're looking forward to it at the Informer for the folks who will be joining WellpointDC. And let me make sure I get this right. The Spring Into Health Community Farmers Market tomorrow. Tag us in your photos. We would love to see how much community engagement, see you guys learning all about what's going on with WellpointDC, Dreaming Out Loud, the Marion Berry Market, etc. And of course, for more info, tap in with Nolan. Nolan, thank you so much for bringing us on. Looking forward to the great weather. Yeah. And feel free to tag those photos with hashtag Smooth Spring, because we're trademarking it.
Will do, man. I appreciate it, Jada. Thank you for taking the time. I know the Informer does such an amazing job of talking about the happenings here in the district, and so happy that we're able to share about this great event and just continue to do the great work that you're doing with the Informer.
Thank you so much, Nolan. I appreciate you, and thank you for joining us today.
All right. Have a great day, Jada.
You too. All right, next we're going to bring on to continue the spring sunshine, Juwan Blocker, thought leader and inspirational producer, a Prince George's County native as well.
We are literally fighting to keep our identities because society strips it from us. Society strips our identity by telling us that if we don't look a certain way, if we don't dress a certain way, if we don't have this amount of money or whatever the case might be, then there's an issue with us. We struggle with it as adults. So imagine how kids are struggling like me with it, and they're still trying to discover who they are.
Wow. Hello, Juwan.
Hey, how are you doing, Jada? Happy first day of spring.
Happy first day of spring. Thank God for the day.
Indeed.
Where are you joining us from, Juwan?
Well, I am joining you all from my military base in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thank you for making the time for us. You look fly.
Thank you.
So, well, first, I mean, of course, I gave a little bit of an intro, Prince George's County native, public servant, and the host of the podcast we'll be talking about today. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Juwan.
Sure. So I was born in Washington, D.C., but raised in Prince George's County. I am married. I have 4 children. Prior to serving I'm a former lobbyist. I've represented clients on a variety of different issues, and I'm currently serving right now in the D.C. Army National Guard.
Excellent. And it's a full list of things that you will have going on. How did you make time for a podcast that's going to launch in May?
Sure. So it's definitely a time management thing. When I'm not working, and with the help of my wife and amazing Meetup podcast team, I spend my evenings and even weekends balancing family obligations and then trying to build this podcast, right? But I feel as though I am working in alignment in what I believe my God-given purpose and talent is. And so doors have been opened, and I've been grateful thus far for those opportunities.
And is this your first time producing a podcast?
Yeah, so this is my first time producing it. So I actually have a producer. I'm more so the I don't want to say figurehead, but really the host of it. But I'm brand new to podcasting, but I am not brand new to advocacy. And I look at podcasting as an opportunity to serve as a voice for the voiceless, and to create a vehicle of change, right? And to tell stories that are often not told, and to really inform people.
Excellent. And speaking of, we keep saying podcasts for folks to make it clear, the Meetup podcast launches May 1st. And just in general, knowing what podcast can be as a platform for advocacy, what really inspired you specifically to go with this one, with what we're going to be tuning into when it comes to?
Sure. So a couple of things, right? So I got my start in advocacy and government at a young age, at the age of 13. And what I learned early on is that if you don't define your own narrative, then society would define it for you. And so I remember attending a student government association meeting, because I figured, maybe I can advocate about school lunch and make a difference there. And then that ended up turning into me meeting all of my local and state elected officials. And ever since then, I went on and decided to run for office. I served on the Prince George's County Board of Education my senior year of high school. And then I ended up running in 2018 at the age of 20, the youngest person on the ballot, advanced through the primaries, fell short in the general. And, again, I learned from those experiences that having a voice is important, and that young people can make a difference in their communities no matter what their age is, but they have to be exposed to what's possible, right? And so this podcast specifically targets young professionals between the ages of 18 and 35, especially in this current economy. There are a lot of young people that are dealing with being burnt out. There are a lot of us. One of the biggest pain points, I think, for young people is what happens when you lose a job. Oftentimes, a lot of us identify our purpose based upon the job title that we have. And I know that because when I worked as a lobbyist, when I worked at the comptroller's office, I identified myself by my title. But then when I no longer had those positions, I had to figure out, okay, well, who was truly Juwan Blocker? And a lot of this is sort of what we're going to be talking about on the podcast. And again, bringing in some very influential entrepreneurs, thought leaders, civic engagement leaders, faith leaders, to help young people understand the importance of identifying who they are and what their purpose is in life.
That is amazing. You're preaching to the choir. I would say anyone, even those outside of that target demographic, have felt things one thing at one point or another in their lives. So that is very powerful. So how exactly will you be able to kind of engage with these thought leaders, these civic leaders that are going to come on? Like, where are you finding them from? How are you kind of make it make sense to the average listener anywhere in the country?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, we have to keep everything in layman's terms, right? Not using big fancy language that we all sometimes get caught up in our acronyms, right? And to be honest with you, I'm really tapping into a lot of my connections that I made in politics, right? So a couple of folks that I have that are slated to come on the podcast. One person, Mr. Walter Simmons, he's the former founder and CEO of Employee Prince George's County and was recently nominated and selected for a cabinet position with Governor Wes Moore. I have one of my mentors, Clinton Smith. He's a #1 New York Times bestselling author. He'll be coming on at some point. I have Jonathan Midlock, the former mayor of District Heights. The Brandon Paul and the former mayor of Indian Head, town of Indian Head in Charles County. These are just a couple of the influential individuals that I'm going to have on this podcast. And again, we're going to be talking about, how they overcame obstacles to become who they are. In this job market, I want them to provide, answers or just feedback or inspiration for young people trying to navigate the job market, things that they did or tips that they can apply today so that the podcast isn't just something in theory and inspiration, but, folks can walk away with practical skills and tools. But again, I don't want to underestimate or undermine the power of inspiration. If you can inspire, not motivate, I'm not knocking motivation, but I believe that motivation is temporary. Inspiration is the fuel that keeps the flame lit, right? Keeps the candle going. And I think right now, a lot of us need that inspiration and then those practical skills to get after the reason for why we believe we were born.
I love that. I loved every single part of that response. So I want to ask you, when you think about your own inspirations, influences that can not only have gotten you to where you are now, but keep you going. Who are those? And I have to say, it's Women's History Month, so if you want to slide in a couple of women.
Absolutely. I mean, I would first and foremost, I want to thank my mother. I talk about it often, but growing up, before being elected to the school board, my mom has worked in one of our school cafeterias since 2004, and I try not to get too emotional about it, but when I was misunderstood, I would get into fights and try to fit in, and I try not to get too emotional about it. But
take your time.
There have been times in which I would be in school suspension, and teachers and people would tell me that I wasn't going to be anything, and my mom was right there, and so when I ended up getting on the school board and she was still working in the school cafeteria as a cafeteria worker, I never forget how proud she was of me, because there were a lot of people that counted me out. And when I got my first 40 under 40 award at the age of 17, she was right there. So I want to shout her out first, Tamika Carey, my wife, Shakia Blocker. She motivates me and inspires me each and every day. She's been through a lot. She's been through miscarriages and so much more while pursuing her master's degree and losing jobs. And so, this podcast isn't something that I'm talking about from somebody else's perspective or experience. I know what it feels like to be in between jobs. I know what it feels like to try to attempt to put food on the table, but needing somebody that believes in you, right? And so, or somebody that's going to hopefully give you an opportunity. And these are the people that I'm bringing on this podcast to give other young people who are literally in the same shoes that I was in, the hope and encouragement that they need to move forward. So this is what makes what I'm doing stand out, I think, because it's very near and dear to my heart. And again, I apologize for getting emotional, but it's real.
No, please don't apologize for loving your mom. Shout out to your mom. Shout out to all moms who do exactly like what you were saying. They put in the work for years. They're the ones who are often overlooked, underappreciated. All women, not moms, but women as a whole. So Shout out to Women's History Month. And thank you for sharing that with us. That was amazing. As we wrap up and, close out, I want to give you a chance, please, to shout out again the podcast, let people know where they can find it and how they can stay connected with you ahead of the launch.
Yeah. So right now we are on Instagram at _meet_up_podcast on Instagram. We are going to literally be on all major streaming platforms where you find podcasts starting May 1st. Folks can follow me at Juwan, Juwan Blocker, Blocker, on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being with us today, Juwan. We look forward to tapping in to the Meetup podcast. It launches May 1st. And just in general, thank you for sharing with us your journey, your purpose, and letting us get to know you a little bit better.
Thank you, Jada, and the team.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Well, folks, actually, I forgot to say this to Juwan specifically, but besides all that amazingness in context of what we're going to see in the podcast, winning 40 under 40 at the age of 17 is a reason enough alone to tap into what he has to say and what he's bringing to audiences. So please, absolutely tap into the Meetup podcast. And don't forget about that farmers market tomorrow. All of these amazing things that are happening in the spring, not just this weekend, not just in the next couple of months, but continue happening every week. And the Informer is bringing it right here to you. So that brings us to the end of our specifically live great episode of Let's Talk. I want to thank Nolan Carr, WellpointDC, and Juwan Blocker for those very informative conversations. If you attend the farmers market, like I said earlier, please tag the Informer in your photos. And I'm not joking. If y'all really like that smooth spring hashtag, let's get it going. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. We would love to see it. And that brings it all up for my face. Everyone who wants to see Miss Denise and the Honorable Sharon Pratt discussing the UDC Institute of Policy, Politics, and History's upcoming America 250 initiative, or upcoming, America 250 Leadership Award ceremony, where they'll be honoring Nancy Pelosi. So that conversation is coming up next. But until then, that's it for me. We'll see you back here next week. Enjoy your weekend and please catch some sun. Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another segment of Let's Talk. I'm your host, Denise Rolark Barnes, publisher of the Washington Informer, where we bring you stories that matter and voices that need to be heard. And today, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming a remarkable guest, a voice we know and are quite familiar with. And she's a true pioneer in public service, the former mayor of the District of Columbia, Sharon Pratt. And Mayor Pratt is the founding director of the University of the District of Columbia's Institute of Policy, Politics, and History. And if you have been missing some of the programming, we are certainly excited to talk to her today to have this conversation, actually, to explore the work that she's been doing and the work of the Institute. But before we do that, I just want to give you a sneak preview of the kind of work Mayor Pratt has been focusing on with this introduction to the program.
There is no place more intrinsic, more essential than who we are in the United States of America than Washington, D.C. You cannot tell the story of one without telling the story of the other. We are the product of a new idea when they came up with the notion of a we the people government.
Fierce and powerful. How are you, Mayor Pratt? How are you doing?
Great to be with you, Denise. Wonderful to be with you.
Tell me about the Institute. I mean, after hearing those introductory remarks, it sort of opens a book to make one want to find out so much more about this Institute and the work that you've been doing. So give us some background about IPPH.
Well, IPPH was formally launched in 2019 at the University of District of Columbia. It's a standalone nonprofit, but housed at the University of District of Columbia, our state university. And it came about with the blessings of Mayor Bowser, and at that time, the president of UDC, Ron Mason, but we continue to enjoy the support of Maurice Eddington, the new president. And the whole purpose of which is to rediscover the history of Washington, D.C., celebrate that history of Washington, D.C. It's a rare day when you see scholarship, stories about the city. You'll have books about the monuments, but not about the history of the city itself, how we came about, the culture of the city, the chronology of the city.
And so it reminds me of, I guess, the bird, the Sankofa bird. I mean, we kind of look backwards, understand all of what the city is about, like you said, the history and the culture, in order to shape the direction that we should be going in. And how do you think the Institute impacts public policy in the District of Columbia?
Well, the main thing I hope we do is to do an effective job of informing people of just how important we are. we are the most important city in our American democracy. And we're not just the most important city in American democracy because we have the White House and so forth here. We're the most important city because, one, is the first initiative that they pursued after ratification of the Constitution. But more importantly, the one president who was elected unanimously, George Washington, was determined to find somebody who to help design this Capitol where the focal point would not be the president's mansion. It would be the people's meeting place, that everything about this Capitol was to affirm the notion of a we the people government. So everything, I mean, when you look at, you can't figure out whether it's northeast, southeast, northwest, southwest without going to the Capitol. That is the focal point. And then this grand mall, the big yard for the gathering of the people. And so we have always been the clearest, most vibrant expression of American democracy.
And how does that impact, I guess, the way people think about the District of Columbia? Because we want, Washingtonians, and you are one, want folks to think about the city as a city of people and neighborhoods and a community. But also we have the other Washington, which, you talk about as well.
Mm-hmm.
How do you marry those two histories together?
Well, at the end of the day, you're right. We're a federal city. We're also an international city because we have all the embassies here. Plus, we are a local city. I think the most important aspect of it is, again, how we were designed and how we are the affirmation of, again, this notion of having government where the people have the last word. Now, that we've had some challenges to that. Mm-hmm. As we know, I mean, the whole notion of American democracy, some would say, is up for grabs right now, to the extent that whenever someone has hopes and aspirations of expanding this notion of citizenship as against contracting the notion of citizenship, where do they go? They come here. Where was the first major civil rights march? It was the Women's March of 1913 down Pennsylvania Avenue. Whether it's around Vietnam, whether it's around civil rights, whatever it is, we are the center stage for the American drama. And therefore, we are also a focal point for an international dynamics. But we're also, as you point out, and you and I both know, are very much a local community as well.
Mm-hmm. So we're here today to talk about a program that's coming up. You've done a lot of programs. So before we go there, talk about some of the programs that IPPH has done at UDC. I mean, it's. I've looked back on the YouTube pages and got stuck watching past conversations. Talk about some of those, and then we'll talk about why you're here today.
Well, we began by really trying to hit some of the touchstone issues that were impacting the country. And so we had people like Ayanna Pressley come and talk about, that was a historic year for women getting elected. We also talked about the economic divide in America. And so we had people like Mayor Karen Bass and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand come. And then we talked about the march. We had you come. And our Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton about, again, this is the place where if you want to march, this is the place you really come. It's not New York. It's not any other place. Not to say you can't do it there, but we are the place. And now, since then, we've really put a lot of emphasis on going back and rediscovering that history. So we put an emphasis on the three individuals who were determined to bring the Capitol to the South. And that was George Washington, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson. We had the three M's, we had their homes, Montpelier, Mount Vernon, Monticello. They were the ones determined that the Capitol should not go back to Pennsylvania. It was for many reasons. Washington thought we'd become the gateway to the West, but it was also around the issue of abolition. Mm-hmm. Pennsylvania by then was very much leaning towards abolition. And in fact, if you had someone enslaved there, if they stayed longer than 6 months, they were eligible, to be manumitted. And so actually he rotated his enslaved people out of there back to Mount Vernon before the expiration of 6 months. But that was a big factor. And so they brought it to the Chesapeake region, which at that time had the greatest concentration of enslaved people in the whole country because of tobacco. And so America's always been a place of contradictions. You know, we have this wonderful aspirational quality reflected by, again, this capital of we the people. And then at the same time, we, you know, and we are the embodiment of that contradiction. We were chosen entirely, had so much to do with the issue of slavery.
And all of this seems to be so timely as the nation takes a moment to celebrate its 250th birthday. And IPPH is doing a program as well in a couple of weeks honoring former Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Tell us about the program, why the 250th anniversary of the United States should be so important to us here in the district. I mean, I think you've already laid that out, but why Nancy Pelosi is being.
Yeah. Well, first, we decided to have, especially since we are such an important part of American democracy, to have an IPPH America 250 Leadership Award, in part to remind people of how important we are to this entire narrative about democracy. So last year was our inaugural year for presenting the award, and we presented it to Secretary Lonnie Bunch. Why do we do it? And someone say, well, he's a national figure. Yes, he is a national figure, but he's a national figure who had a profound impact upon this entire region, especially this city. But, you know, with the Smithsonian, with the African American Museum, that brought in there was such an influx of visitors. That's why they said, instead, he pulled off in the impossible, and they turned around and said, my gosh, we're going to make you the 14th secretary of all of the Smithsonian. This year, we're presenting it to Speaker Emeritus Nancy Pelosi, who is also an outsized national figure. But she's been a tremendous friend to Washington, D.C. She has always fought for our political equality, always fought around the issue of statehood. And indeed, all of the states are represented in Statuary Hall. I mean, she played a role. They wouldn't let us do it because we're not a state, but she made certain Frederick Douglass. That, you know, statute is up there in the Capitol as a tribute to Washington, D.C. She is from the region, having been born and reared in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. And she just really has been a great a champion for us. And she stands up for the principles that I think we cherish, you know, in terms of she's always reminded people that the real power in the country should not be that Article 2 president. It should be Article 1, the people who are represented in the Capitol. And so she's been very strong and confident and assertive about that. And so we decided she should be the one we would want to honor.
And it seems significant, Mayor Pratt, that you're doing this at a time when, you know, I mean, we've celebrated women leaders, right? But we're going through a period now where they're not celebrated, they're demeaned and what have you. And as a trailblazer yourself, one, I mean, I understand why you would have selected, IPPH would have selected Nancy Pelosi because of the strength that she has shown over the years. But what do you think about women leadership as we're in the midst of Women's History Month, and sort of the impact that they're having, but the struggles I think that they're facing right now?
Well, I think it's a good question, and I wish I really had a good answer to it, because we've had two very competent women who stood for the office of president, and they did not pull it off. We're, I think, the only major industrial power that has not ever had a woman to occupy that office. Indeed, the person who's amassed more power than anyone is Nancy Pelosi, the first woman and the only woman to be the Speaker of the House. We've no Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and no President of the United States. We got close with Kamala Harris as Vice President. It's a really sort of it's perplexing why we in the nations in this nation with these, such a expansive notion of people having power, have this contradiction. But then again, all of those notions are being challenged as we come upon the America 250. I mean, it's up for grabs as to whether democracy is going to really survive. When after they came up with this idea, this woman asked Benjamin Franklin when he was leaving the Constitutional Convention, she said, "What the heck does all this we the people mean?" And she said, "Is it a republic? Is representative democracy?" He said, "Yeah, if you can keep it. If you can keep it." And I think we're going through, I mean, obviously we're at an inflection point.
Right.
We're clearly there. And I think we're going to have to work out some basic principles about, I mean, women have also been an expression of that contradiction. It's Black women who have been the ones who've been most assertive, Black women who have been the ones who've been out there on these issues of democracy. I mean, we've been such an extraordinary, faithful voter in the process, and not all women have been there. And some women, and so it's sort of like where the country was founded. When the country started, you had people next door who were up there really rooting for King George III because they had access. What did they care about this we the people? They had access to the king. So what if they didn't have a vote? They were okay with that. That's where we are now. We've got our fellow Americans who say, where 45% of some registered Republicans say they're okay with an autocracy. They're okay with it. You see in even the 2025 project, and I'm not just picking that, and the 2025 project does not represent what used to be mainstream Republicans.
Right.
They're okay with an autocracy. They're okay with a lot of policies where women have less power, not more power in the 21st century, less power in the 21st century. I think this notion of we the people and real representative democracy, it's hard for some others to swallow. And so we've got a lot of tensions going on around gender, tensions going on around race, but also, most of all, tensions going on around class. We've got a billionaire class that is assuming more and more power and prerogatives, even in terms of free press. Questionable, do we have free press? Right. Where the average and a lot of the policies that are being advanced may work for them, but they may not work for the rest of us. And so we're at a real juncture in American history. As we say we're celebrating America 250. Let's see what we get by July 4th. So that's a long-winded way of saying there's so much up for grabs. And a part of that is the role of women. And we've never been a monolith. That's the point I'm making. We've never been a monolith. Exactly. There are women, particularly well-to-do white women, who are fine. What they can't resolve in the ballot box, they can resolve at the country club. So they don't really need to worry about turning out the vote and being activists. Question is, where are we? Who are we going to be? What is America 250 going to look like? And everything's up for grabs. I mean, really, and I have no clue how it's going to turn out. I have hope, but your father used to say, if it is to be, it's up to me. So we got to do our part.
Well, it sounds like, from what I've observed with IPPH, that this is something these are the hard issues that you all discuss at the events that you have. And tell us a little bit, I know we're running out of time, but a little bit about, how often you hold these events, and then also particularly when this ceremony is going to take place and if folks can participate.
Well, the ceremony will take place March 26, 5:30 to 7:30, and it's going to be at Trinity Washington University, which is the alma mater for Speaker Pelosi. So right here in DC. And, we invite everyone to participate. Yes, we do ask for a donation, but, we're not standing at the door banging people across the head. And we typically, we have regular programming, every month, and whether we have in-person programming, we do that less frequently, but we do it, every few months. So we'll have this. They're also going to have an event, as I said, Prep at Lincoln's Cottage, again, where we, talk about some of the early women, the women of the 19th century, who played really important roles in this city.
So it sounds like, this program is one that folks will want to attend and folks will get a chance to actually hear Nancy Pelosi speak, I'm assuming, as well.
Yeah, that's right. And so we want to have a nice celebration and try to get as many people from the entire DMV. We have Attorney General Jay Jones, who will be there from Virginia. And we have Congressman Infumi from Maryland. And I know Steny Hoyer and Glenn Ivey are trying to get there as well. Mayor Bowser is going to kick it off. And also somebody who was mentored by her, the whip, House Minority Whip, Catherine Clark, second in command to Hakeem Jeffries, will be there. So she's mentored a lot of women, especially. Wow. And so we want to celebrate that also.
Before we close, I just have to ask you this, because, people hold political offices and sometimes they go off and get corporate jobs or they fade off into the sunset. You are still producing, I think, programming and content and pursuing information that really matters to people. I want to know, why didn't you fade off into the sunset, Sharon Pratt, or why did you decide to start the Institute for Policy, Politics, and History?
When I look at my retirement, I also ask the question, why did I do this? I don't know. It's what fulfills me. This matters to me. DC has always mattered to me. And the privilege, really, of being able to explore this history and celebrate this history is just really fascinating. And the wonderful people I get to work with. And every time, you bring somebody on and you think, wow, that's pretty extraordinary. And DC is important. It's really important. And it's important in terms of the international profile, the national profile. And of course, I think the Black community here has had really a major role in this country, and some think a central role around intellectual activism, because, the Harlem Renaissance in many ways really began here with Elaine Locke, and so, we have consistently played significant role, and we need to honor that. For what reason? It's important. It's important to understand who we are. And that's important in terms of charting a course for the future. That's not my future, it's my grandchildren's future, but it's important that they know this. Yeah. So it gives me, I have to say, it gives me great joy and great pleasure to be a part of it.
Well, on behalf of the Washington Informer, I'll say, and Let's Talk, I want to say thank you, but I'm sure people who participate in your programs also say thank you. You bring so much history and substance to Washington and to the folks who actually get a chance to participate in these programs. One last time, the Leadership 250, IPPH America 250 Leadership Awards ceremony, again, will be held on, and give us the details one more time.
March 26, 5:30 to 7:30 at Trinity Washington University.
Okay. All right. Anything that we forgot to talk about?
Well, I can't think of it, but it's been a real delight to be with you. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Likewise. Well, we're going to bring you back because, again, I want to help whatever we can to help people to understand or have the same passion that you have about the District of Columbia. Once you hear it and see it, you don't lose it. It becomes a part of you.
It does become a part of you.
Whether you're a native or not. Thank you so much for being
here. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.